Okay, so this is kind of the same as the other homework. What you're going to do is you can subtract 2/3 to both sides, but it's easier just to get rid of your fractions. So you want to look at your denominators and say what number can you multiply them both by in order to get eliminated. And in this case, it's going to be 6. So you're going to multiply it by everything on top. So that is then you go back and reduce. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 3 goes into 12 4 times. And this is 48. And then you guys know how to solve this. The only other thing that you could have done if you wanted to go faster, 2 goes into 6 3 times. So you know that that's going to be 3. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. Or just work it out this way. So x is equal to 44 over 3. Same thing here. You could add the 1/4 or cancel out your fractions. And if you want to cancel out your fractions, you're going to multiply this side by your common denominator. So it's going to be 12. And again, you're multiplying that 12 to everything on top. Go ahead and reduce. And you can leave it as an improper fraction or reduce it if you want and write it as a mixed number. So 8 goes into 27 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24 with 3 left over, so 3 and 3/8. Now this one, 2 and 6. In this case, 2 does actually go into 6. So you could have picked 12 as your number to multiply by, but actually 6 works. And then you're just going to multiply that across. So I went ahead and multiplied everything through by 6, reduced it. 15x plus 1 equals 60. Subtract 1 on both sides, divide by 15 or as a mixed number. The next one, 5 and 2. So you're going to multiply everything through by 10 on top. So that's going to be 40x over 5 plus 10 over 2 equals 160. Simplify it. 8x plus 5 equals 160. Do your math and solve. All right, subtract 5 from both sides, divide by 8. So 155 over 8. How many times does 8 go into 155? I used my calculator and I got 19.375. So you could write it as that, or 8 times 19 is 152. So 3/8 left over. All right, same thing. Next problem, because both of these have a 5, that makes it kind of nice because you're just going to go ahead and multiply everything through by 5. So that's going to cancel that out. And so then you get 6x plus 1 equals 150. And if you had done that at the beginning, you would have known that 6x plus 1 equals 150 because those just cancel. Go ahead and do your math and solve. 149 and divide by 6, and then again write it as a mixed number. Okay, mixed number 24 and 5 6, or 149 over 6 is fine. This one, same thing, you multiply by 3. You know that those are going to cancel, so it's just going to be 2x plus 3. Otherwise, you would have had 60 equals, but they reduced to, oh, this is going to be a 1. Okay, go ahead and solve. And x is going to equal 14 and a half. All right, next problem, the same thing. We're going to go ahead and multiply this by 4. So we have 64 equals, simplify, and then do your math and solve. Okay, that one worked out nice. 5 and 4, so we're going to go ahead and multiply this by 20. So that's going to be 2 times 3 is 6, and then the 2 zeros, 60. go ahead and simplify, and then you're just going to solve. Okay, and do your math. Okay, add 5 to both sides, divide both sides by 12. And when you divide both sides by 12, that's your answer, or write it as a mixed number. Okay, this next one. Now you can do this two ways. You can actually multiply this out, or you can just get rid of that 6 right away, and you're going to do it the same way. This one's a little bit tricky because it's multiplication. So 6 times negative 10, well, that's easy, negative 60. This 6, you actually just have to multiply it to this. You don't have to go to here because it's the distributive property. And as long as you multiply it once, that means you've actually multiplied it to everything over here. So it simplifies into 1 x plus 30, or negative 60 equals just x plus 30 minus 30 from both sides. So negative 90 equals x. Same thing, or this one's just a regular problem. So distributive property, negative 3x and minus 3. Add 3 to both sides, the same one. Divide by negative 3. Okay, and you're done. Okay, so to find the slope, you're finding your rate of change. Make sure, so this side is going up by positive 2 every time. This side is going up by 4. So it is the y over the x. So it's positive 4 over 2. Go ahead and reduce that. 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 4 twice. So it is 2 over 1, or you could just say it is 2. Okay, your slope again is your y over your x. So how much you go up and down over how much you go sideways. And in this case, you went 1 and you went over 6. It's kind of hard to see, but the slope is also negative. So it's negative 1 over 6. Then you have the formula. Formula is 10 minus 3, 7 minus negative 7. Simplify that. So that's the same thing as 7 over 14. 7 over 14 reduces to 1/2. Slope, equation of a line is y equals mx plus b, and your slope is your m value. So your slope in this case is just 5. Graphing this, so y-intercept at negative 1, slope is up 2, right 3. So up 2, right 3, up 2, right 3. Or you can go down 2, back 3 in your line. Same thing here, negative 1, your slope is negative, so that means you go down 2 and right 3. So down 2, right 3, down 2, right 3, or up 2, back 3 if you go the other way. I'll make your line hit your points. Okay, write an equation of a line. Well, you need to know your y-intercept, so that's 3. So your b value is 3. The next thing you need to know is your slope. And your slope is, okay, it is 3 over 2, and it's negative. So then you have to put it all together. Your slope is negative 3 over 2. So y equals negative 3 over 2. Put the x next to it, and you started at 3. Oops, started at 3. All right, distributive property here. So just multiply this out. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Be careful, negative 4 times a negative 1 is a positive 4. Combine your like terms. So I see x's, x's. Always take the sign in front of your term. So 2x and 2x is 4x. 4x minus 2x is just 2x. 2 plus 2 is 4. You have $850 and spend. Spend means that you're losing money. So you have f of x equals, you're losing $20 each week, and you started at $850. X plus $850. The recursive tells you how your pattern is growing. So f of x equals your previous term, f of x minus 1, and then you're losing 20. You could do plus negative 20 or just minus 20. Okay, so that's this one. Okay, so this next problem says you have Calvin here and the bus is over here. and he has to get over here. This distance is 40 feet, this distance is 30 feet, and he's going to cut across. So we want to know this length. So this is a right triangle. We're going to use Pythagorean theorem. So you have your legs, and the fancy word for this side is the hypotenuse. So formula for that, do you guys remember it? Yes, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So what you're going to do is you're going to plug in your a value, and this could be either one. So that could be a or b, but c is always your hypotenuse or your longest side. So then you have 30 squared plus 40 squared equals c squared. Simplify that. 30 squared is 900. 40 squared is 1600. Combine those two, 900 plus 1600, 2500. How do you undo a squared? Right, you square root it. So square root of 2500, plug that into your calculator, whatever that is. So 50 is equal to C. Again, this is a wordy problem, so you need a wordy answer. Calvin will run 50 feet to get to the bus. All right. Next problem is inequalities. So at 4, open or closed circle, this includes it, so it's actually a closed circle. Now, in this case, which one is greater, the 4 or the x? Well, it's eating the 4, so that means that 4 is greater and x is less. So you're going to shade values less than 4, which will be this way. Next one, adding fractions, you have to get a common denominator. Common denominator is going to be 15. So 3 times 5, so 5 fifteenths, and times 3, so 12 fifteenths. 5 fifteenths plus 12 fifteenths, now they have a common denominator. I can add that, and that'll give me 17 fifteenths. Or write it as a mixed number. This goes in 1 and 2 fifteenths left over. So this is an improper fraction, and this is called a mixed number. If you're doing slope, usually they leave it this way. Otherwise, they usually like mixed numbers. Multiplication, great. Just multiply straight across. 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times 5 is 15, and nothing reduces. Division, you're going to multiply by the reciprocal of the second term. So you flip this one, 5 over 4, turns into a multiplication problem, and multiply straight across. 1 times 5 is 5. 3 times 4 is 12. And that's it. Okay. Glad you checked your homework, and make sure you get that turned in.